John Scudder with BehindThePanels.com, and we're here with autobiographical comic artist Jeffrey Brown. How you doing, Jeffrey?
Good.
So how did you get into this type of comic book writing and art style?
Well, you know, I grew up reading superhero comics and thinking I would draw X-Men for Marvel. And somewhere along the way, I moved on to, this is around probably college, moved on to thinking of myself as a fine artist and had dreams of, you know, showing paintings in museums and galleries in New York and whatnot. And I was at art school getting my MFA and had a particularly rough critique, and art was just seeming not so fun at the time. And so the most fun I ever had drawing was when I was making comics as a kid. So I decided to draw a comic just to change things up. And I decided to make it autobiographical because a lot of the art I was seeing at art school was maybe not so related to real life. You know, it was like a lot of conceptual or work that was based just on, you know, whatever the visual elements were, and I didn't really feel like an emotional connection to it. So I decided to make the most emotional, personal thing I could possibly make.
So coming out of your infancy from what you thought comics were when you were a kid into a more mature adulthood into what you know comics is now, what were your primary influences coming into that second phase?
I mean, the main influences were Chris Ware and Dan Clowes. It was finding the latest issues of Acme Novelty Library and Eight Ball that kind of brought me back into comics and remembering what I loved. I'd read Eight Ball previously, and but I had stopped collecting, stopped reading comics, and but those books were really inspiring and reminded me what I loved about those comics, and that I could do something more with my art that wasn't necessarily, you know, what I was thinking of as fine art. I could still make meaningful work in comics.
How long ago did you know that this is what you were going to be doing with your life?
I mean, like when I was, you know, all growing up, this is what I thought I would be doing. But I guess, so in a way I've known since I was, since I was 2. I guess I've always thought that I was going to be doing some kind of artwork.
Well, when did you know that it was going to be a viable product for a lifestyle that could sustain you?
A few years ago.
So you did go through the whole struggling artist phase.
Yeah, I mean, I had a day job just up until 2007 that was my main income, and even now it's my full time. There's still times when it can be a struggle. But yeah, I mean, the trade-off is being able to do something I love most of the time.
So when you finally broke away from having that day job, did you feel a sense of freedom, weight off your shoulders?
Well, in a way, but then also I felt more responsibility and more weight, just because then I knew that I couldn't always just do it for fun or do whatever I wanted. There was, these other concerns start to creep in a little bit. I try not to let that guide what I'm doing, but I can't just do a project that I know I'm going to spend half a year on that won't pay me any money. It's just I just can't afford to do that. So fortunately, the stuff that I want to do does seem to sell well enough that I can keep doing it. So.
Well, everybody's dynamic, so everybody lives different lifestyles, and everybody has to take their own path. But what would you say to aspiring young artists out there that may be facing the same kind of path as you did?
I mean, the first thing I always say is just do the work. You've just got to sit down and make work, not just to get better at it, but it's one thing to have all these ideas, but if you never put them into practice, you're never going to get anywhere. If you're waiting around for, like, you've got a big idea and you're waiting for someone to come and help you make it a reality, that it's not going to work. You're going to need to take the initiative and make it happen yourself first.
We're looking at this.
So do the work. Make work is my advice.
All right, and some of the stuff that you've got recently, most recently will be Star Wars, Darth Vader and Son. And you've got a lot of autobiographical books. Can you tell us about some of your previous work?
Yeah, so my early books were the autobiographical books about relationships, and most recently I finished an autobiographical book that's about fatherhood and religion, I guess, are the main themes, and that book will be out next year, and it feels a little bit different from my other autobiographical work. It's full color, which is unusual. Mostly I've drawn the autobiographical work in black and white, but yeah, it kind of makes a nice transition. I did the Darth Vader and Son book, which is kind of about fatherhood and religion too, so...
Now, is this transition a little more difficult for you because you're venturing into the world of religion, or is that something that you haven't tackled on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, for me, it's such a loaded... My dad was a minister, so there's a lot of emotional baggage, or maybe that comes with that, and then also just trying to push the work forward, and do something a little different with the work, whether it's subject-wise or how I'm drawing it.
Anything that you'd like to say to the viewers?
Thank you for listening to me, and I hope you like the books.
All right, thanks, Jeffrey. Appreciate it.